Hey, hello everybody, my name is Cool Blue and I'm bringing out this video of me playing a board game, and let's start our background music here. And today we are going to be talking about the game Deep Space D6. And in this game we will essentially be trying to fight off a horde of enemies and survive through space. And that's the entire premise of the game. Not really much else to talk about. It's pretty straightforward. Chuck some dice, place your dice in the particular positions, and try not to get overwhelmed style game. I did have to check a few rules here, and that's the one thing I'll talk about in the cons later on. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and talk about how the game plays first. And then we'll do a review, and then I'll do a playthrough in a different video afterwards. So, starting off with how the game actually plays. So what actually happens is, on your turn, assuming the top of your round, the goal of the game is to make it through this entire deck and survive. If you're going to play with the big baddie card, I think it's called a Boreas or Aurora Boreas or something like that, the ring thing. You can play it to where after you clear the deck and all the enemies, then you face off against this one last enemy. Or you can play it to where you shuffle these pieces for this 6-piece enemy, this 6-piece boss inside of the deck, and then once you draw the 6th piece, then you face against the boss, and then once you beat that, then the game's over. So there's a few different ways you can kind of play it, at least on the base game. There is an expansion that I do have. I will talk about it in my actual playthrough, but not right now. But as far as the base of the game, essentially I'm going to roll the dice. So I have my 6 crew dice here, and this is my threat die, which I'll hold to the side for now. And I roll the 6 crew die, and then once the dice roll, they'll give me results. Any face that shows up on the scanner face, like so, will get placed on the spot here. Essentially what this means is that once this reaches max, then I'm going to draw another threat and put it out immediately. Alternatively, at the end of my turn here, once I finish assigning and attacking, the enemy's going to activate. They're going to flip a card and then do some stuff, which is not going to be great. But ultimately, having 3 of these is not great because it kind of speeds me through the deck faster. Also, my dice is locked there. There's no way I can return it except for this ability here, but we'll get to that in a second. Now that I've placed all my locked dice up there, I now get to assign my crew and do their effects in whatever order I please. So in this case, I can decide to put one of my attackers here. This one is I think a tactician. Is that the right name? Let me check. That one is called a tactical. This is a tactical die. This one's called a threat detected face. But I put my tactical die here, and I get to use this ability here. And this one says I get to do 1 damage plus 2 for each additional tactical used. And another thing to talk about here, which we'll clarify now, is that on the back of each of these sheets, because you get 4 different ships, which is great. I'll be playing with one of these other ones over here during my playthrough. But you get 4 of these ships, and back here it tells you some rules about the ship itself. One of the things it should tell you is that the damage can be split, and right here it says, for beginners and new players, this ship is good for beginners and new players. Its lasers can be boosted to output significant damage, which can be split amongst multiple enemies, multiple targets. Okay, that's important. So I need to know if it gets split or not. So I can split that damage, meaning that if I put more tactical people there, then that means I can do a bigger hit. Which, just to clarify, for these enemies here, they spawned with 4 and 2 health. And I had to do essentially 4 health to kill this one and 2 health to kill that one. Although this one has a negative effect that I'm not too keen on defeating immediately, but we'll get to that in a second. So that's me placing that 1 die. Next I can take this other face, which this one is a commander. This is a commander face, and I can put it in the commander space here. And this one says change a crew die to any face. So I'm going to go ahead and play that 1 commander to change this other commander into a tactical and put him there. And now I got 3 damage whenever I decide to attack. Actually, no, I'll take it back. I'm going to keep this as a commander. I'm going to change this because I don't need to repair. This one allows me to repair the hull. I don't really need that right now. So I'm going to put this one into a attacker, like so. And then finally, I'm going to go ahead and spend my other commander here to change this other, this one was a science die, into another tactical. So right now I have a total of 1 plus 4. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 damage to split between these 2 enemies, and I'll decide to split that however I choose because I can split based on the ship's ability. So I don't really want to take out this one. This one will kind of take out itself, but I do want to get it out of the way eventually, and eventually it's going to do 5 hull damage, which is not great. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot this one for 2. So I'm going to do 1 damage and then 2 damage. Now it's defeated. Put that in a discard. And then I'm going to hit this one for the remaining 3. So 1, 2, 3, and that's 1 health left, and that's it. So now that's done, now the enemy goes, and first thing we do is we draw one of these threat cards. This one's going to be a away mission or an invasion, I forget the name of it. We're gonna put that over here, and this means that in order for me to attack this one, or in order for me to take care of this one, I have to assign a dice to it, which in this case will be a medic, which is what that face is, or medical face. And once I do that, then this one in particular, I get a special ability, which I get to use at some time in the future. But for now, that's a threat. Speaking of threat, now we do our threat die roll. We roll this dice that the game comes with. And if we get a 1, then a bad thing happens. We got a 5, so nothing happens. And now I move on to the next round. I gather all of my dice, because technically they'll all go to return. But I gather all of my dice that are not injured. And then I roll them. And I end up with a scanning face, so I put it there. And then I have a medical face, and a commander, and a repair, and some other stuff. So, because I know that this, once it's defeated, based on its effect, is going to actually deal 5 damage to my hull, I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of the fact that I have a commander, use this commander here, to change this into a tactical. And I'm going to use that attack right now, because I can do whatever order I want, and take out this meteor, this meteoroid, and it's now defeated, and it says, when destroyed, 5 hull damage, so we're going to deal 5 damage to my hull, so from 8 to 3, which is a massive amount of damage, not great. And then finally, I'm going to go ahead and use my repair hull to heal myself up by 1. That's kind of sad. And this other one is not going to do much. Oh, actually, I can use this to return one of my scans, so I'm going to use that to return a scan. Perfect. That's it. So this is defeated. You know what? I'm not going to return a scan. I just thought about it. I'm instead going to put this on the away mission, because that gives me a cool ability later on. So I get to successfully take care of that one. That goes to returned. And this one says, in the future, I can discard to reroll all scan detected this round. So that's pretty nice. So as it's done, we're going to move to the next round. We're going to draw one of these. It's going to go into the spot according to its health. And then I'm going to roll the threat die. And this one is, if I roll a 3, then I'll do 2 hull damage. I cannot be damaged unless it's the only threat. So if there's multiple threats out here, I have to kill the other ones first before I can take this one out. And the game pretty much goes on forever until you take out the entire deck. And that's pretty much it. So fast forward over to the final stages for the final boss. Let's assume that I'm playing with the final boss. Once the big boss comes in, essentially I take all the boss cards and then I put them out. And once again, this depends on how you play. If you play it by just clearing the deck first and then placing out the boss, or if you're going to play it by the boss coming out in pieces, and then you take out the boss once you have all 6 available. And essentially, it's just kind of a big boss fight. I mean, it's not really much to say about it. You know, just kind of roll your dice, try not to die, and if you take them out, then you win. So that's pretty much the entirety of the game. Just a bunch of dice rolling, dice chucking, assigned into place, as people call it, a worker placement game through and through. And it does a lot of really cool things. So now that we've gone through the practically the teach of the entire game, let's go and talk about just my review of it, because I want to get all that in the same video so I can do a playthrough afterwards. My overall feeling of the game is that this game is a pretty good game. Hold on, before I continue with that. There's also Don't Panic cards that you can shuffle in. I took them all out so I can talk about them. Forgot to talk about them. These Don't Panic cards, essentially they do nothing. When they show up, they just kind of give you some reprieve in the storm. There's up to 6 you can put in. You can put 6 if you want an easy game, none if you want a hard game, or 3 if you want a medium game. Scale it based on how you want. And then finally, there's some other cards to show as examples. So for instance, this Nebula, when it shows up, it'll get put over here in the level 2 spot. And if I roll a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, then this thing happens, which is the Nebula loses 1 health. And then that's it. But then once this is destroyed, all of my shields go to 0, which is not great. Can lead to some very bad situations. Another one to talk about would be the Robot Uprising. Actually, yeah, let's talk about the Robot Uprising. Robot Uprising, this one is a internal threat, I think is what the game calls it. Essentially, if I roll a 1, 2, or 3 during my attack or during the threat phase, then one of my dice gets into the infirmary. And once the dice is in the infirmary, it's stuck there until it's healed by a medic. And it can be really bad, because if all my dice get stuck in a situation like this, let's say I have only 1 die left, and I, for some reason, rolled something that ended up putting in the infirmary somehow. I'm hosed. So that's not good. That's another losing condition. So you got to manage your dice, manage your infirmary. The cool thing about it is once you use one medic, you get to heal all of your dice. You don't get to use them this turn, but next turn you can. So, okay. All right, glad we talked about that. All right, moving on. So back over to the review. As far as this game overall, though, I do like this game a lot. I think it's very simple, straightforward for what it does. It is relatively easy to set up. I say relatively easy because I had the expansion, so you got to split the cards up and also sleeve my cards, so it makes it a little bit more cumbersome. Just a few minor things that don't really kind of kill the game too much. It is a game that I have played just kind of in between breaks at work. Take a 15-minute break, roll up a quick game, and then put it away. I do work from home though, so I had that convenience. So take that however you will. And also the box is a small box game. I forgot to mention this is in the small box big game series, which totally slipped my mind to mention. And there's a whole lot of variety. And on top of that, there is an expansion, which is right over here. I have these sleeves as well, so that's why the box is boating. But just trust me, the box is fine. And these are a different set of enemies that I can use and a different main boss I can fight against, which is pretty neat. So I can use that to change up the game. And also there's a fan-made expansion called The Long Way Home. And I will be playing that one after I do a normal playthrough. So I'll be having 2 playthroughs of this game. Surprise, surprise. But that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot of variety to this game too. I mean, there's the ships over here. You can have different ships. This ship's my favorite because it gives you a lot of options. It essentially has the ability to you can place some dice faces here, and then once you activate this particular spot, then you get those effects as it dictates, and it's pretty nice. It's a little risky though because you don't have any other attacks otherwise. You can recharge shields. You can do some stuff to swap your shields and your health. There's just a lot of really neat things that particular ship gives, which I'm a fan of. So 10 out of 10 would recommend this game if you can find it. I know this game was out of print for a while. I found it by the grace of luck, apparently. So I have been grab a copy of it. But if you cannot find a physical copy in your game stores, this game is also available as a print and play. I think the entire game is free as a print and play on Board Game Geek. So definitely go check it out if you want to do that. I don't think the expansion comes from print and play, but don't quote me on that. But this game did start off as a print and play. It's pretty nice, pretty great. Like I said, chucking dice and then kind of seeing where they land and then dealing with your crisis from there. It's a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, and that's what I think I appreciate the most about it. So yeah, overall, I would recommend this game. A lot of fun, small box game. Even with sleeved cards, you can kind of fit everything in there. If you do not have sleeved cards, you can get the expansion, which is the Endless is what it's called, and fit that in there as too. Fit that in the same box as well if you do not sleeve things. Or you can just print out your own copy, like I keep saying. It's just, you know, what is there not to like? Except for the rulebook is not great. The rulebook is okay, let me say it that way. There's a lot of times where I had to reference Board Game Geek to clarify some things. I don't know if those are just specific interactions, but, you know, take that how you will. Take that with a grain of salt. So, yeah. Cool. That's it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed it, and as always, I will see y'all whenever.